I am with Enzo for 5 years. His new mistress came to our anniversary party and told me that Enzo and her were in love, asking me to get a divorce and fulfill their relationship. Enzo watching from sidelines, waiting for me to deal with his mess. I cleared his mess in the past. That day I suddenly felt tired of it. I stood up and smiled at him, saying I'm going outside to get some fresh air. Enzo didn't pay much attention, thinking I was going to cry secretly. However, an hour passed. Then 2 hours and then 3 hours, but I didn't come back. He went to look for me himself. There was only a ring. He knew I wouldn't go back anymore. Welcome to Love Story. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Enzo had an aloof and charming secretary as his mistress outside. Her name was Bonnie. Someone told me that, when Enzo first saw her, he was fascinated by her graceful and elegant temper, which was like that of a beauty under the moonlight. He indulged the girl outside, treating her like a treasure, hiding her away and not letting anyone see her, including me. But at this moment Bonnie came to me on her own. With red eyes she looked at me, her eyes full of condemnation. Mr. Enzo doesn't love you anymore. The person he loves now is me. Don't you think it's unreasonable for you to tie him down with marriage? Mr. Enzo and I are truly in love. Please agree to the divorce and fulfill us. She cried pitifully. She looked like a poor soul whose happiness was blocked by me, a bad woman. But I just found it ridiculous. True love. Don't you think you're despicable for falling in love with someone else's husband? Upon hearing this, Bonnie's face turned slightly pale. The next moment she cried even more pitifully. Yes, you're right. It's really despicable of me to fall in love with a married man. You have every right to scold me, but I made a mistake and love is not wrong. I just want to be with the person I like forever. I really love Mr. Enzo and I don't want to be separated from him. Can't you just let us go? Her words were absurd and childish, but Enzo thought she was cute and fearless. He gently wiped away her tears and coaxed her softly. All right, darling, stop making a fuss. I'll stay with you tonight. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. He was trampling on my dignity and standing up for Bonnie. This was a kind of favor that none of his other mistresses had ever received in the past. There were also many mistresses who came to me and asked me to leave. After Enzo found out, he instead severely punished his mistress himself. He warned everyone, Caroline is my wife and no one can provoke her. But today Bonnie ruined our anniversary. Not only did Enzo indulge her, but he even asked his secretary to send her back personally. Then he walked up to me and said in a low voice, "Don't worry. I won't let her act recklessly again, so don't do anything to her." He was warning me. I didn't nod. Immediately, Enzo frowned slightly and his eyes were as cold as ice. Caroline, Bonnie is young and doesn't know any better. He even made excuses for her. I see. Don't worry. I interrupted him and nodded in agreement. Enzo's expression softened a little. He wanted to hold my hand, but I instinctively avoided it. Enzo's face darkened and he seemed a bit annoyed, but I smiled at him and said, "I'm going to the outside to get some fresh air." Enzo nodded. "Come back early, we're waiting for you to cut the cake." Okay. I turned around and left. Enzo stared at my back, but I didn't look back, not even once. After leaving the banquet hall, it was drizzling outside. I take a deep breath. And some reason, I suddenly remembered the day when Enzo proposed to me. It seemed to be raining that day too. We met when we were kids, fell in love at the age of 18. At the age of 21, Enzo successfully started his business and earned a lot. Then he proposed to me. "Caroline, will you marry me?" That day he knelt down on one knee in front of me, and his hands were shaking so much that he could hardly hold the ring. I looked down at him and only asked, "Will you always love me?" He swore with certainty and without hesitation, "Forever." I believe that his words at that time were sincere, but sincerity is fickle. At the age of 23, Enzo had a young and beautiful girl as his mistress outside. After I found out, he knelt in front of me crying and begging me not to divorce him, saying that he would definitely change, but once there was a first time, there would be a second, a third, and a fourth time. Until now he no longer tries to hide it, and I no longer make a scene. I've had enough of the fuss and seen through it all. Just like Bonnie, Enzo treats her specially. He came to warn me and threaten me because of her. If it was 3 years ago, I'm afraid my heart would have broken into pieces from crying, but now I just feel tired and disgusted, because I know better than anyone that Enzo will definitely not divorce me for Bonnie. It has nothing to do with feelings, it's just that over the years of our marriage there are too many and too deep interests tying us together. Divorce would be troublesome and of no benefit to him. He won't do it. And he is also certain that I won't do it either. After all, over the years, I've mentioned divorce more than once, but it always ended up going nowhere. At first it was because of love, and later it was because of unwillingness. But no matter what the reason is, as it should be, after all these years, I should have already gotten used to this kind of farce, but this time I suddenly felt tired of it, and didn't want to play along with him anymore. This feeling made them tremble at this moment. His assistant came up to me and whispered, "Madam, sir said you should go back and cut the cake." Go back? I suddenly came to my senses. I turned around with a gentle smile. "Tell Enzo I'm not going back." His assignment relayed the exact words to Enzo. Enzo's face darkened slightly. When the others saw this, they quickly tried to persuade him, saying, "Enzo, Caroline might be in a bad mood. Which is why she said she won't come back. Women have little tantrums sometimes. Enzo, you should be more understanding. Women need to be coaxed. Enzo, why don't you go and coax her?" Upon hearing this, Enzo's heart stirred. He and Caroline had known each other since childhood. No one knew her better than him, how much she loved him. Today he asked Caroline to be more lenient with Bonnie, and in order to coax Bonnie to leave, he said that he would stay with her tonight. He shouldn't have said that. It was our anniversary today, and he should have stayed with her tonight. He said the wrong thing. Thinking of this, Enzo looked at his assistant. Was she crying? Caroline had been a crybaby. Since she was a child, she would cry when she was sad, and she would also cry when she was happy. She would even get depressed and have trouble falling asleep after watching a sad drama. She had a sensitive and fragile personality. She must have been sad because of his words just now. So she made an excuse to go outside and cry secretly. Enzo felt a twinge of guilt. Caroline was his wife, and it was our anniversary today. He shouldn't have embarrassed her because of Bonnie. He should apologize. Just as he was thinking this, his assignment shook his head. No, she was smiling happily. She looked very beautiful. Enzo frowned slightly. He was surprised by this answer, but after a moment his face darkened and his tone was as cold as ice. Then what's she throwing a tantrum for? She's not a child anymore. If she doesn't come back, just leave her alone. The guests looked at each other and didn't dare to persuade him anymore. They could only wait quietly, but an hour passed, then 2 hours, and 3 hours. Caroline still didn't return to the banquet hall. Enzo's expression was cold and gloomy. He stood up and went to the garden. The mistress of the Enzo family, a wealthy lady, yet she threw a tantrum and left the table because of the mistress. It was neither decent nor magnanimous, and it made the guests laugh at her for nothing. When he saw Caroline later, he must scold her, but when he got there was no one inside or outside the garden. The rain was powdering down. Next to the trash, there was only a ring. Enzo's heart trembled slightly. That ring was the silver ring he used to propose to Caroline. Over the years, he had bought countless pieces of jewelry for Caroline, but she only had a special collection for this silver ring, and cherished it like a treasure. But now she had casually thrown it into the trash can. She didn't want it anymore. At this moment, he clearly understood, soberly realized, Caroline wouldn't come back anymore. After I returned to the villa, I contacted a lawyer immediately. The lawyer was very professional and skilled. He is helping me analyzing the property division issues. After all, this wasn't the first time he had helped me with divorce matters, although it always ended up going nowhere before. But this time it was different. I was very serious and focused. I don't know how long it had passed when my phone rang. It was Enzo. He probably found out that I left early without telling him, which made him lose face, and he was a bit angry after I answered the phone. His tone was a bit cold. "Caroline, what on earth do you want to do?" I motioned for the lawyer to stop. Then I said to him in a very calm tone, "I want to divorce you." On the other end of the phone there was a momentary pause and heavy breathing. When he spoke again, Enzo's tone became very gentle. "Is it because of Bonnie?" I didn't answer. He thought he had guessed the reason correctly. and it seemed as if he let out a sigh of relief. His tone carried a hint of appeasement. Caroline, she really did mess up our anniversary party. It's indeed her fault. It's reasonable for you to be unhappy. I ask her to go and apologize to you right now. Up to this point he thought I was being petty because of Bonnie, but he still couldn't bear to break it off with her. It was a bit ridiculous. I smiled softly and then interrupted him in an extremely calm tone. Enzo, it has nothing to do with anyone. Then I want a divorce from you just because I don't like you anymore. From a very long time, I don't have feelings for you anymore. Enzo, the road ahead is long. I won't accompany you on the rest of my life. I finally said these words as if I had removed a heavy burden from my heart, but more importantly I felt relaxed and relieved. Enzo was silent. For a moment on the other end of the phone, all that could be heard was the sound of him tapping on the table, indicating that he was thinking. After a while when he spoke again his tone was dull. What are you throwing a tantrum about this time? He still thought I was throwing a tantrum. In fact, this question was very familiar. After I discovered his infidelity time and time again, and when I threw a fit and cried each time, he would always look at me warily and indifferently, his eyes filled with deep confusion, and asked me, over the years all my money and the company shares are in your hands. Those women are just for casual flings, just for fun. No one can threaten your position. You will always be my wife, Mrs. Enzo. Whatever you want and whatever you want to buy, you can get it right away. Then look at the women around you. There are so many people who are struggling for a living. Enzo's expression changed and his eyes stared gloomily at the boy's hand holding mine and asked, "Who is this?" The boy looked back at him, then he looked at me. "Your ex-husband," I nodded. The boy smiled brightly. "Hello, ex-husband. I'm Stefan, the young lover that sister keeps." His gaze was incredibly calm. Bonnie frowned in disgust. "How can you be so shameless?" Upon hearing this, Stefan rolled his eyes. "What's wrong? Aren't you also the ex-husband's mistress? Why are you being discriminatory? Besides, if anyone should be discriminatory, it's me against you. You're a mistress during the marriage. You're despicable, shameless, and have no sense of decency." These words completely overwhelmed Bonnie. She could only turn pale with red eyes, trembling all over with anger, and looked at Enzo pitifully, hoping that he would stand up for her as he usually did. But Enzo didn't even glance at her. "Go home first," I spoke up. "Take me to my apartment. That's where I live now." Stefan pestered me to return to the country since he had nowhere else to go. He could only live in my place. But Enzo clenched the steering wheel tightly. "Let's go home. I want to talk to you." This meant there was no room for discussion. I frowned unhappily, but seeing Enzo's expression I still nodded. Okay. Back at the villa, the layout was still the same as when I left. It was a bit messy. After all, when I left I took away all the valuable things I could. Enzo immediately asked in a questioning tone, "Who is he?" I raised my eyebrows. "My young lover. You said you couldn't accept an open marriage before. Now you've actually found a young man for yourself. Have you had a great time playing with him outside these days?" Enzo frowned tightly. He looked up at me. The corner of his mouth curled into a casual smile, but his eyes were cold. I looked at him and smiled. "It's been great. Young people have a lot of energy." My calmness silenced Enzo's sarcastic remarks. I was a bit impatient. "Enzo, is this what you wanted to talk to me about? If so, then I'm not going to accompany you any longer. He's young and he always has nightmares when he sleeps alone. I'm going to keep him company." This sentence should not be unfamiliar to Enzo. Once he also said something like this to me. Enzo obviously also remembered that past event, and his face immediately turned extremely ugly. But the next second he looked at me suddenly, took steps closer to me, and then looked down at me condescending, smiling. "Caroline, let's break it off with them both and start over, okay? I love you." I pushed him away and looked up at him warily. "You don't love me. You just feel that the person who shouldn't have left suddenly left, which hurt your pride. You've been obsessive, compulsive, since you were a child. When you were a kid, if the cookie you were going to eat was missing a corner, you'd rather go hungry than eat it. Now you'd rather find one woman after another outside, but you still want to keep me to maintain your perfect marriage. After all these years, I know him better than anyone. I know his coldness and his selfishness. He's tired of me, but he won't allow anyone else to possess me. This isn't love, this is his arrogance. Enzo, you're really sick. Get treated as soon as possible. Enzo fled in a hurry. But the next day he still appeared outside the door. He wanted to drive me to work. I didn't refuse. Since the divorce hasn't been finalized yet, we're still a decent, wealthy couple. Enzo treated me better and better. He would report everything he did to me. Text messages kept coming, one after another. I didn't look at them, let alone reply. People in the company call me Mrs. Wen. They see me, they know my identity, and I'm not interested in going to work from 9 to 5. Now that I have money, I don't have the hobby of making myself suffer. I just hold a nominal position and come to the company occasionally. I have friends in the company, so that's how I found out about Bonnie. This time when I came to the company, my friend saw that Enzo would come to my office now and then. And she asked me if Enzo had changed his mind. I sneered. I invited her to have dinner together after work. After my friend agreed, I sent a text message to Enzo telling him not to pick me up after work. Then I'll come and pick you up after you're done. Okay, I agreed. My friend and I got off work together. When we reached the underground parking lot, my friend said to me while driving, "Did Enzo break up with Bonnie? I told you he still cares about you. As long as you're angry, no matter how much he likes her, he won't keep her." I smiled. Maybe. These days Bonnie has called Enzo many times. I've seen it. But Enzo didn't answer any of them. Even when I said to him, "Answer it. Maybe there's something important." Enzo looked at me and his eyes were very complicated, both depressed and sad. "Don't you care?" I looked at him and shook my head. "I don't care." I stopped caring a long time ago, but Enzo blocked Bonnie right in front of me. It seemed that he had really changed his mind. During dinner my friend asked me, "So if he's changed, do you still plan to get a divorce?" I didn't answer. I looked out the window. It was getting dark and there were few pedestrians on the road. A man stood under the street. His face couldn't be seen clearly, but his posture was tall and straight, making him very noticeable. The girl came down from the apartment and quickly threw herself into his arms. The man lowered his head and gently kissed the corner of her eye. A car passed by. The two of them, the lights came on. I saw their faces clearly. It was Enzo and Bonnie. I watched them quietly for a while and then I took pictures of everything. Just then my phone rang. It was a message from Enzo. "Are you done? I'll come and pick you up." "Don't come. I'm not going back tonight," he replied instantly. "Okay." I looked down. Enzo held Bonnie's hand and walked into the apartment. Both of them were smiling. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by the ringtone. It was Bonnie. She sent me a photo. Enzo was lying on her chest sleeping soundly, and there were hickeys all over her chest. It was erotic and sticky. She no longer had the aloofness she had when I first met her. "Your husband is really good in bed, sister. He's not interested in you anymore. Why are you so stubborn and refused to get a divorce? Can't you save some dignity for yourself?" I saved the photo after thinking about it. I transferred 100 yuan to her. The note was a payment for prostitution. Bonnie was furious and sent me a whole bunch of messages. I didn't read any of them. I immediately sent the photo to the lawyer. "Evidence of infidelity. Try to get me more property." The lawyer replied instantly, "Don't worry, Miss Caroline." The next day when I went downstairs, Enzo was already waiting for me at the door. "Caroline, good morning." He looked refreshed and there was a look of satisfaction in his eyes. After having his desires fulfilled, he brought me breakfast. It was the pan-fried dumplings and soy milk that I used to love the most. I casually ate one or two and responded to his questions in a perfunctory manner. My perfunctory attitude was obvious. Since Enzo became successful, no one had ever been so obviously perfunctory to him. His expression was displeased. "Caroline, do you have to treat me like this?" He stopped the car and looked at me. There was actually a hint of grievance in his eyes, as if I had let him down. But when he met my calm and indifferent gaze, he couldn't say anything. "Then sign the divorce papers if you can't stand it. Don't put up with it." As soon as the words fell, Enzo's face turned cold. "You can't even think about it." His attitude was very firm. I let out a sigh and leaned halfway back on the sofa. It was as if I was feeling emotional yet also Helpless. Enzo, why are you so despicable? When I loved you, you hurt me. Now that I don't love you anymore, you come to pester me. You're really despicable. I'm really annoyed. Enzo kept insisting and refused to sign the divorce papers, so we maintained our marriage like this, but Enzo clung to me tightly. I knew he was on guard against me meeting Stefan, but when Stefan couldn't find me, he would come and wait for me at the company gate. He would cling to my arm and act slyly, asking me if I didn't care about him anymore. I smiled and coaxed him. I do care, in full view of everyone. After I coaxed him away, when I turned around I saw Enzo standing far away at the door looking at me. I didn't know how much he had seen, but he didn't say anything and turned around and left the company alone. It seemed like he was being petty, but I didn't care. It rained today, the weather was a bit chilly and I went home alone. As soon as I got home, Enzo took my hand and led me to the dining room. Didn't you want to drink this soup from the outside the city? I bought it for you. It felt cold to the touch. I glanced at Enzo and only then noticed that he was soaked through, and his face was slightly pale from the cold. His eyes, however, held anticipation and a desire to please. But after taking a sip I put down the spoon. It's a bit fishy. You can have it. I turned to leave, but Enzo grabbed my wrist. Because you like it, I specially went to buy it for you. It took me 2 hours to find that stall. It was raining and there was no shelter at that stall, so I could only wait in the rain. But you only took 1 sip and you didn't even show a bit of concern for me. Caroline, what on earth has happened to you? His fingertips were trembling and there was deep confusion in his eyes. You weren't like this before, so what? I looked him in the eye, my gaze calm and composed. I don't like you anymore. You're just a stranger to me. Do you expect me to show concern for a stranger? Your self-moving actions, yet you want me to be grateful. Isn't that ridiculous? Enzo seemed to be crushed by my words. How could you not like me? I've already investigated. Clearly Stefan is just your friend. You two have nothing going on. You're just using him to be petty with me. You still care about me in your heart. Caroline, you do love me, don't you? He looked down at me, his gaze cautious yet full of anticipation, but I noticed that he was gripping his hand tightly, his fingertips turning white from the force, as if my answer was the last chance that determined his fate. I smiled and then shattered his last hope. He's just a friend. For now, life is long and I will always meet someone who will accompany me for the rest of my life. I'm afraid of being alone after my father passed away. I wanted a home of my own more than anyone else, so I've never planned to spend my life alone. I always need someone to accompany me, a man, a woman, a lover. It doesn't matter. There was a hint of red in Enzo's eyes and he asked me, can't it be me? No. I didn't hesitate. Ignoring Enzo's face that instantly turned deathly pale, I smiled and then turned around and left. I didn't look back. Bonnie came to find me. She brought a pregnancy test report. Compared to the aloof and fairy-like appearance when I first met her, now there was a cold and charming look on her face that came from experiencing love. She was even more attractive. No wonder Enzo couldn't bear to break up with her, such a delicate flower who would be willing to give her up. Bonnie told me that she was pregnant. She said that the reason Enzo was being nice to me was that he wanted me to accept this child. After all, I couldn't have children. Upon hearing this, I looked up at her. Did Enzo tell you that I can't have children? Otherwise, Bonnie smiled with a hint of provocation. But Caroline, who in the circle doesn't know that you can't have children? Yes, in the 3rd year of our marriage, when I was 3 weeks pregnant, I found out about Enzo's infidelity. During the argument I had a miscarriage. After that I never had a child again. Many people guessed that I had damaged my body and couldn't have children anymore. They secretly tried to solve the problem for me. They sent women and made promises. But I took a sip of the scented tea, smiled calmly and didn't show any signs of being provoked. I'm not unable to have children. I just don't want to have children for him, because he doesn't deserve it. If you want to have a child for him, that's your own business, don't drag me into it. Also, if he wants a divorce, I'm ready to go through with it at any time. It's him who doesn't want to, but you two are quite a match. One is despicable and the other is even more despicable. Bonnie's face turned red with anger. and her voice was shrill. Caroline, he loves me. You're just an old woman. Bonnie is just a year younger than me. I raised my hand and splashed the scented tea in her face. I stood up. I looked down at her embarrassed appearance like a drenched chicken, and said in a calm tone, since you're so sure of his love for you, then quickly persuade him to sign the divorce papers and stop bothering me. Bonnie, I'm waiting for your good news. Unfortunately, Bonnie was useless. She made a scene at home and told Enzo about her pregnancy. There was a gentle look on her face as a soon-to-be mother, but Enzo's first reaction was to look at me. Caroline, this was an accident. These words stunned Bonnie, but after a moment she came to her senses and grabbed Enzo's arm. Enzo, you clearly said that you wanted to have a child with me, and you also said that you hoped the child would be as beautiful as me. How could it be an accident? This is clearly the crystallization of our love. You tell me that you love me. You're already tired of Caroline. Why won't you divorce her? What can she give you? I love you. We're going to have a child. Why won't you marry me? Enzo expression was cold. He looked down at her. Go and have the child aborted. Bonnie instinctively covered her belly, her eyes filled with sorrow. No, I don't want to. This is our child. How could you have the heart to abort it? Girls look pretty and pitiful when they cry. But Enzo's gaze moved to her belly and there was not the slightest bit of emotion in his eyes. I don't want to repeat it a third time. Go and have the child aborted. Bonnie covered her ears and screamed as if she couldn't hear the hurtful words from her beloved. The two of them were at a standstill, and I glanced at the hidden camera in the corner and watched this good show coldly, until Bonnie fainted from exhaustion. Enzo had someone send her to the hospital. I'm sorry, Caroline, I will definitely deal with this matter, he promised me. I was taken aback for a moment, then I smiled. It's not necessary. I don't care. As soon as the words were spoken, the room fell silent. Enzo looked at me. The corners of his eyes were red. You don't care? He seemed to be deeply hurt by my indifference. I looked at him steadily. It was only then he instinctively grabbed my wrist that I noticed his fingertips were shaking violently. How could you not care? You should be sad. You used to cry so easily. Why are you not crying now, Caroline? Don't look at me like this. Okay. His tone carried a hint of pleading. At this moment he seemed to be so humbled that he was in the dirt. He was delusional about getting my pity. But I just thought the dirt was dirty, and he was even dirtier. Should I care? We're about to get a divorce. Whether you have a child, with whom you have a child, and how many children you have nothing to do with me anymore. Enzo, I really don't love you anymore. Looking at his appearance, I smiled instead. We've known each other for so long. Let's both leave some dignity for each other. Sign the papers. Enzo finally signed. He had no choice but to sign. Bonnie told the media about her pregnancy, and this wealthy family's love affair caused a great stir. The stock market was in turmoil and the shareholders were dissatisfied. Enzo didn't want to be sued by me anymore, and his infidelity became known to everyone. The lawyer fought for the greatest benefit for me, 70% of all the property, the lawyer told me. Actually, it's 60%. The remaining 10 percentage points were voluntarily given by Mr. Enzo. I smiled and accepted it calmly. The day I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, it was a rainy day. I might have a special connection with rainy days. All the major events in my life happened on rainy days. It was like that on the day of our engagement, on the day of our wedding, on the day Enzo first cheated, on the day I decided to get a divorce, and also on the day of our divorce in the rain. Enzo stood beside me and said softly, "Let me give you a ride." I shook my head. No need. Someone is coming to pick me up. As soon as the words were spoken, Stefan squeezed between me and Enzo, with an umbrella. "Sister, I'm here. It's cold today. Put on an extra coat. You're already a bit sick," he kept chattering and draped his coat over me. I accepted it. Then I stepped under his umbrella and just then the rain suddenly stopped. I looked up. The bright sun gently emerged in the sky, dispelling the hazy mist. The sunlight fell softly, sprinkling on me and warming away the chill of the recent rainy season. I smiled, then I turned around. I waved my hand at Enzo. Goodbye. The rain had stopped and the sky cleared. Goodbye to all the gloom. Enzo's epilogue. regret is useless. On the day of the divorce, I stood where I was. I watched as Caroline and another man shared an umbrella and walked further and further away. He could vaguely hear the boys' noisy chatter and Caroline's helpless laughter, but there was a relaxed joy in her eyes. That was a sense of ease and freedom that he hadn't seen in her for a long time. In fact, he had known for a long time that Stefan was not Caroline's lover. Caroline couldn't do that. She had once tried it. She found a boy and they seemed very close, but when he saw the boy's face, he didn't care anymore, because the boy looked so much like him. Since she couldn't let go of him, it was impossible for her to truly take that step. Sure enough, that absurd period ended in less than a month. She never crossed the line again. When he was drunk, he once told this to a friend. The friend was stunned for a moment. After a while, the friend sneered and said, "Maybe she doesn't love you. Maybe she's just not as despicable as you. Enzo, you really will lose Caroline this way. Don't regret it when that day comes." What did he say at that time? Enzo thought for a while before he remembered. At that time he smiled with full certainty and said, "How could I regret it? It's Caroline who can't live without me." He thought he didn't like Caroline anymore. After all these years he had clearly been tired of her for a long time, but at this moment, looking at Caroline's receding figure, his heart ached, as if it was being torn apart. As if he had lost the most important thing in his life. He suddenly wanted to chase after her, but as soon as he took a step he stopped. He knew Caroline wouldn't look back anymore. She had once said, "Be together if you like each other, and part ways if you don't. Enzo, I really don't love you anymore. Let's break up." She never lied. She really didn't love him anymore. Never again. The rest of her life would be as bright as the sky after the rain stopped shining brightly, and he would stand in the rain for the rest of his life. But no one cared anymore. Stefan's epilogue: I am only 1 year younger than sister. I fell in love with her at first sight. I knew my sister doesn't need a lover, but I stayed with her. Maybe after some time, I had my chance. 2 years after divorce, my sister finally accepted my pursuit. We got married. Sister seemed to start living freely with me. Sister and I had a son after. Sister is afraid of being alone, so now sister not only has a loving husband but also a handsome son. Our family of 3 is happy and fulfilling. Sister said, "Call me wife. I am most happy man in the world."